welcome to Tabletop Express. This is the show that gives you all the latest news, reviews, and rumors on board games, card games, packed into short, succinct, expedient, bite-sized bits of awesome. I'm your host and conductor of the Tabletop Express, Johnny King. Today we're looking at Flick 'em Up. Flick 'em Up is a Western-themed dexterity game by Pretzel Games that breaks the players into two teams. The Outlaws, known as the Cooper Clan, and the Lawmen, consisting of the sheriffs and his deputies. The game comes with 10 scenarios that will pit the Cooper Clan against the Lawmen in various confrontations, from straightforward shootouts to more objective-based games like, scenarios involving dynamite and hostages, bank robberies, and hangings. So here's a quick overview of how the game works. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do whenever you set up the game is you're going to set up your boards for your lawmen and your outlaws. Spoiler alert, the first scenario, you don't even go into the buildings. You just shoot each other out in the street. And so in the first scenario, each of your cowboys and lawmen and outlaws are going to both have 3 hearts. And whenever one of these guys gets shot, so if one of these bullets hits this guy and he falls over, then number 5 right here loses a health. If he loses all 3 of his health, then Luke here has died. There's a little slot in the back of the box, the board here, and then Luke will rest in peace. There's some additional game rules, like you're going to take your cowboy's, you're going to remove him from the board, but you're going to keep his hat over here just to make sure that you're going through the same amount of turns for each team. Now on the first scenario, you see that the captain of the Outlaws here, Pete, has the pretzel, and that's just the initiation or initiative token that says that he is the first player to go in the game. And the way it works is player 1 or cowboy 1 from the Outlaws will go first in the first scenario, and then it'll be number 1 from the lawman, and back and forth. So outlaw number 1, cowboy number 1, outlaw number 2, lawman number 2, outlaw number 3, lawman number 3, and so on. When you have more players, what we like to do is, instead of assigning particular cowboys to each player, we just rotate it that way. If one player's cowboy got eliminated, they didn't get less turns in the game, and it was a little bit more difficult that way, but I felt like it made it more fun. Alright, so once you actually have you've looked at the scenario and you've set up the town according to what the scenario calls for, the game can start. Just for this illustration, we'll say that the cowboy number 1 here is starting first. And so you're going to set the clock tower for whatever the scenario says. A lot of times it says it starts at 6, and that'll let you know. The clock tower shows you what color their hat should be that are going. So the 6 is red, all the hats that are red go. Once a player has gone, that cowboy's gone, you flip their hat over, and so you know that they've already gone for this turn. And then once everyone's hats are blue, you go to the next hour, which is blue, and then you go from there. So in order for a player to go on the cowboy's turn, you can do 1 of 3 actions. So you get 2 moves basically, you get, or 2 actions. You can move, you can shoot, or you can take or exchange, or pick up or drop an item. In the first scenario, there aren't any items, but when you get into the more scenario-based games where you're robbing the bank or whatever, you actually have to go inside and use one of your actions to pick up a bag of money, or pick up a dynamite or whatever. So let's say the first action I'm going to use this guy is to move. So to move your cowboy, you're going to take the movement disc, you're going to replace your cowboy, and then you're going to flick it. Now, if it touches anything like another cowboy or like an obstacle or a building, then that is not a valid move and you lose your action. So you got to make sure it doesn't, or if it flies off the table, then. But so if you flick it and it doesn't hit anything, then you move your cowboy to that spot. Now you could choose to move again, or you could choose to shoot in this scenario because you can't take or exchange anything. So I'm going to shoot, so you want to place your little disc within 1 disc of that guy and then flick it, and I missed. Now, in order to score a hit on the cowboy, you actually have to flick him and then fall over. If more than one of them falls over, only the first hit counts, and so the other cowboy is stood back up. And since that guy hit, he would lose a health or a heart, but he would stay down until the beginning of his next turn, whenever it's his turn to move. Because otherwise, if you got one cowboy right next to another one and you're flicking him and he fell down and he's standing back up, you could kill him 2 or 3 times in a row. And so in this scenario, that's all you would do, is you just move and shoot and move and shoot until the rest of the other team is dead, or until the scenario comes to midnight on the clock tower. So that is how Flick 'em Up works in a nutshell, or pretty much the whole thing. So this is how the Tabletop Express rating system works. I judge the game on 3 areas, a scale of 1 to 10. Theme, mechanic, and fun factor. I'll average up those scores and give a total of 1 to 10 toots. For Flick 'em Up, I give the theme a 9. I really like the whole spaghetti western type of theme, which may be a factor of why the show has a western theme, but overall, I think the theme really works well with the mechanic of the game. My friends and I found ourselves doing cheesy western accents and swearing to avenge the death of our fallen cowboy brethren. For mechanic, I gave Flick 'em Up an 8. The fact that the entire game is based on flicking wooden pieces around the table adds a lot of fun to the game, but at the same time, some people were limited by their flicking abilities, and we had some discussions about the rules of flicking. The rules say you can't use your thumb for resistance, so instead, some people were putting their finger on the table for resistance since the rules didn't say anything about that. And I gave Flick 'em Up a fun factor score of 9. The game is really enjoyable. I played it with my 4 and 6-year-old and they loved it, even though my 4-year-old son had some hard times flicking over the buildings. It can get a little bit boring if you're waiting for your turn to come back around if you have a game with a lot of players. But I mean, overall, Flick 'em Up gets 8.3 toots. If you're interested in getting a copy of Flick 'em Up, please hit up your friendly local game store. If they don't happen to be carrying it at the time, I know some aren't, you can get it on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. And that's all for today. Thank you for taking a ride on the Tabletop Express. If your ride has been enjoyable, educational, or helpful in any way, please let us know by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Y'all come back soon.